Week 6 is here, so it's time to get you ready. First of all, the Seattle and Cincinnati game is going to be full of high-producing fantasy assets. Joe Burrow actually looked really good last week. Joe Burrow may be back, actually. So with that, if T. Higgins plays, he gets a boost. Jamar Chase obviously has been playing very well after starting pretty slow. Joe Mixon, maybe this is the Joe Mixon bump game. But when you're talking about this being one of the highest over-unders of the week, it also means that guys like DK Metcalf, guys like Tyler Lockett, Kenneth Walker, this is probably going to be a game where a lot of touchdowns are being scored. So we're very comfortable starting pretty much every asset on both teams in this game. The over-under set at 45 this week. Cincinnati is favored by 3, and they are at home, so that's probably why. But it should be a fairly even matchup. Probably going to be a shootout this week for that game.
Yeah, absolutely. And another matchup that we think is going to be really great this week is Arizona at the LA Rams. And these are two offenses that have definitely exceeded expectations, and that's not even doing it justice. I mean, both of these offenses have looked pretty solid. Josh Dobbs, a backup caliber quarterback, has looked starting caliber up until the game against Cincinnati. I think this is going to be a game where both defenses are very depleted. You obviously have Aaron Donald on the Rams side of the ball, but I don't think that's going to matter overall for Marquise Brown being able to produce. Maybe even a little Michael Wilson sprinkled in there as well. And then this is primarily the Rams' time, man. Cooper Kupp is going to have his way. Puka Nacua is going to have his way. Tutu Atwell may even be able to snag another touchdown like he did last week against Philadelphia. Definitely optimistic about this matchup overall on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving down to the next matchup here, we also like the Dallas Cowboys at the LA Chargers. This is the Monday night game. And this one, again, I think the Chargers will be on here every week. Any game with Brandon Staley in it, absolutely going to be a must start. So, look, Keenan Allen without Mike Williams, probably going to be pretty good. I do predict, Austin Eckler's obviously coming back. Obviously, Austin Eckler's going to get his own every week. I'm predicting that one of the other pass-catching weapons in the Chargers offense will have a good week. Not sure who it's going to be. Obviously, Everett, Palmer, Quentin Johnston, one of those guys. But then you also on the Cowboys side, you've got Jake Ferguson playing well recently. I think he's going to be a good start in this game against that defense. You've also got CeeDee Lamb. He's a must-start every single week. Could Brandon Cooks be flexible this week? Maybe. Against the Brandon Staley defense, I'm thinking so.
Anything can happen.
Over under 51. The line is Dallas at 2. This 2. I think I'm taking the over on Dallas there all the time.
The Chargers defense could make Deuce Vaughn look like Devon A-Chain. So
true.
Just saying. Chicago at Minnesota is going to be our last matchup here that we're real excited about this weekend. This is, again, just two horrible defenses going against each other, both 1-4. Chicago has obviously had a resurgence of production in the last couple weeks, playing two horrible defenses in Denver and Washington. It's not going to change this week against Minnesota. DJ Moore is probably going to get his own, and Justin Fields, if anything, is going to have some nice rushing upside, some rushing ability this week. Even look for Devontae Foreman to pick up some slack in the run game where Khalil Herbert and Roschon Johnson left the hole with the injuries. I think there's going to be a lot of points there for the Bears, even Cole Kmet. Then on the other side of the ball, you obviously lost Justin Jefferson. Very unfortunate. If you don't think fantasy football isn't 90% luck, I don't know what to tell you. I guess you knew that Justin Jefferson was going to get injured. But Jordan Addison, we think, is going to have a great week. He obviously isn't Justin Jefferson, but he's going to get plenty of volume there. KJ Osborn will likely get his own as well. I mean, you saw what he did from a production standpoint before Jordan Addison was even part of the picture with Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson in the last 2 seasons. TJ Hawkinson, we're looking for him to have a bounce back week after 2 disappointing weeks. He is going to just get so much volume again with the Jefferson injury.
Let's move on to the injury report for this week. Jordan Addison, who you just talked about, is going to be questionable. He's questionable with an ankle. I think Jordan Addison plays, but he is listed as questionable in the injury report. Dawson Knox, also questionable. Yeah, you got to note that for sure. And Dalton Kincaid. So it's both tight ends for the Bills. Could elevate maybe a Gabe Davis this week if they don't have either of those guys. Keaton Mitchell, which I'll skip. Saquon Barkley. Yeah, I know. Saquon Barkley, high ankle sprain. I actually don't expect Saquon to play this week. That's just me guessing. I think they're going to hold him out another week. That's one to monitor. Obviously, people are really waiting on Saquon this week. Darren Waller, groin. Who really cares, honestly? Evan Neal, offensive, and I say that joking, but again, you shouldn't really be starting Darren Waller. Evan Neal, obviously, that would be a huge loss there. And then Sam Laporta, calf strain, limited today, did not practice yesterday, so we'll see on Sam Laporta. And T. Higgins is a game-time decision with ribs.
Yeah.
These guys are expected to play this week.
Yeah, so expected to play is going to be Odell Beckham after an ankle sprain in his first game back last week on the Baltimore Ravens. This is something where if he starts or doesn't start, it does not impact me whatsoever because I'm not putting him in my starting lineup anywhere. He doesn't belong there. I don't think he will all season. He was overpaid and he's not getting the volume. And sure, he got a red zone target and end zone target last week. Do I really care? No, I'm not starting him this week. Mike Evans, obviously with the hamstring, expected to play. We don't know how much that's going to bug him for the rest of the season, if that's going to be nagging. Something to keep an eye on. And honestly, if you can afford to, don't start Mike Evans this week. I'm kind of worried about his volume and his opportunity in this matchup. Wan'Dale Robinson with the knee injury. Obviously, this is his ACL. So he played last week, didn't do anything. He's expected to play this week. Not very worried about it. But again, a horrible situation in New York. I don't think you want to be starting Wan'Dale Robinson unless you're absolutely desperate. Austin Eckler says he's 99% ready to go this week against the Cowboys. I think he's going to have a day. They need him. They're missing him, man. With the Mike Williams injury, I think that just is all the better for Austin Eckler's production in this offense that refuses to take shots down the field consistently with Justin Herbert. They'll just check it down to Austin Eckler.
Players ruled out for week 6. Deshaun Watson is going to be out. People are like, oh, this may not be because of injury. No, it definitely was because of injury. Daniel Jones is out. Not really a huge hit. You're not starting Daniel Jones. Miles Sanders has shoulder. He is out. That's a big blow for your fantasy teams if you're flexing Miles Sanders, Treylon Burks. You're not flexing. And those are really the only relevant guys. So again, the pretty heavy QBs, one relevant running back. That's it this week for out. So hoping some of the fringe guys, injury guys come in and play this week for sure. Yes.
I will say this on the defensive side of the ball, Jalen Carter out with an ankle sprain is a huge deal for Breece Hall. That is a very, very big deal. So that's something to keep an eye on. I think we're still going to lean, if you can afford it, sitting Breece Hall this week. Again, this is kind of we're kind of bringing everything together with what we've talked about this week, but that is something to note and something that is definitely last second, where you're a little more comfortable starting Breece.
Moving over to our starts. This is going to include some of our earlier start video guys and some guys that we've decided to add. Calvin Ridley, one that was on the video earlier this week. He's playing the Colts. He's going to tear the Colts up. He's a must start for us this week against a bad Colts secondary that he's already beat up once this year.
Yep, got to be honest. James Cook is going to be our next guy here. Also a start playing the Giants defense. Playing the Giants, period. What else do you have to say? Like, that's it.
All right, that's all we'll say. Jordan Addison, questionable, obviously. If he plays, he's obviously a great start playing the Bears defense. I would also put KJ Osborn here. Especially if Jordan Addison can't go, KJ Osborn probably becomes the number 2 option there behind TJ Hawkinson. But then again, behind these guys, my next starts are Kirk Cousins and Alexander Mattison. So what can we say about this?
The entire Minnesota Vikings offense.
Start the Vikings against the Bears, 100%. Go ahead.
Yeah. Next guy we're going to have here is Drake London going against Washington's defense. I think you saw what DJ Moore did last week against Washington's defense, where they literally didn't even respond to him producing. They're like, yeah, so we're just going to keep doing the same thing. We're not going to change anything. We're not going to double DJ Moore. Just keep doing what we're doing, guys, because Ron Rivera lets the players talk. Yeah. He doesn't do any talking. Raheem Mostert is going to be our next guy as well. This is a situation where you're playing against the Carolina Panthers offense or defense, and they're 0-5, and they're 0-5 for a reason. And their defense has a bunch of replacement level players. So I think you're looking at Mostert with the absence of Devon Achane, and you're very optimistic, very excited about what he's going to do this week, along with every asset in that offense, honestly.
Even though Miles Sanders is out, we are not starting Chuba Hubbard. We're going to sit Chuba Hubbard, not really confident at all in that matchup against the Dolphins. The Dolphins will kill them. Chuba's probably not going to get a ton of valuable touches, probably not going to get a ton of reception. Like, we're just not going to start Chuba. It's pretty risky.
Yeah.
Deontay Foreman the same way.
Yeah, same with Deontay Foreman. There's going to be a lot of situations here. Again, we understand. We realize that running back this season is a dumpster fire, crapshoot. If you have to start Deontay Foreman, do it. He has a nice, safe floor. He's playing Minnesota's defense. But if you can afford to not, don't do it. Don't start him.
There you go. Don't pick him off waivers and be like, he's a must start. No, he's a sit.
Yeah, and Dameon Pierce is going to be another guy this week who we're just not excited about coming up. Has another tough matchup. We said Ramondre was a sit last week playing the Saints. We were right. We're going to say the same thing about Dameon Pierce this week playing the Saints. I anticipate we will be right. If we're not, you're welcome to crap on us. I know how much you love it. Rachaad White is going to be up next year playing the Lions. I think in general, we're just not super high on Rachaad White. He has a nice floor, plays okay, but he's not efficient as a runner. He has fine receiving upside. We just don't love this matchup against the Lions this week. We had him in our sits video earlier this week, and we're going to stand by that. We're very confident that Rachaad White isn't going to do much.
We were like 6 for 7 on our breakout picks last week. We're going to try this again. The one guy we missed on was Zay Flowers. So what are we going to do? Double down.
Because he had 11 targets last week.
Because he had 11 targets. He only brought in 5 of them, I think.
Yeah, because he dropped a couple.
So we're going to double down on Zay Flowers. We're going to think he's going to get a lot of targets. And what?
Do you know how many drops the Ravens had last week that were credited to them?
How many?
7.
That's ridiculous. Dude.
7
That's not like the Colts a couple years
drops.
ago.
Yeah, well, if you watch that game, Lamar is throwing dimes, and they had legit like Butterfingers. They all looked like Alec Pierce out there.
So we're going to go Zay Flowers again. And then we're going to go Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott playing a Brandon Staley defense. That's pretty much all it takes. People have been lower on Dak. People watched Dak against the Niners last week look like absolute dog crap. And now they're like, well, Dak can't play. Dak's going to bounce back.
Staley's going to make him look amazing.
Yep. Every
Promise.
time. And then KJ Osborn, the last breakout for this week, because there's no Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
I'm predicting. This is just a me prediction. I'm predicting that instead of Jordan Addison taking a massive step up, you're going to see KJ Osborn take a lot more volume than he did before in the Justin Jefferson role. I think they'd love to keep their rookie in a lot, like very similar to what he's been doing already this season. And KJ Osborn, the veteran, move him into that role where he's going to be taking on a lot of JJ's routes, being the X receiver on some of those plays. I'm going to predict that KJ Osborn has a pretty big week, and that's why he's a must start for us. But I'm also going to have him as a breakout because he hasn't really done a lot this year. Because Addison is better at his position.
Yeah.
But who will be better in JJ's role? I think it's a toss-up. I think Osborn has a big week. So, all right, we're ready for week 6. Excited for football. Can't believe it's already week 6. But do us a huge favor. Drop a like on this video. Please drop a like. And please subscribe if you play fantasy football. We really appreciate you guys helping us get our subscriber count up. Thank you guys so much for joining us today, and we'll see you later.